The signal from the unknown. The year was 2134. Humanity had reached the stars, but had not yet found life beyond Earth. Scientists had long searched for signs, radio waves, strange signals, anything that could prove they were not alone. But the universe remained silent. Then, everything changed. On a quiet night at the Deep Space Listening Station on the Moon, Dr. Elias Carter sipped his coffee, staring at his screen. The data had been the same for years: static, background noise, and the occasional pulses from distant stars. He was used to the silence. But tonight, there was something different. A strange signal flashed on his monitor. At first, he thought it was an error, but then it came again, clear, rhythmic, intentional. His heart pounded. It was not natural. Someone, or something, was trying to communicate. Dr. Carter activated the recording system and played the message aloud. The room filled with an eerie metallic voice, speaking in a language he had never heard. The message played on a loop, shifting between unknown tongues until suddenly it spoke in English. "Help us, please. Earth, help." Carter's coffee cup slipped from his fingers, shattering on the floor. The world reacts. The discovery spread across the world within hours. Governments, scientists, and media outlets all scrambled to understand the message. Was it a trap? A warning? Or was there truly a desperate alien race calling for help? The United Earth Council, UEC, held an emergency meeting. Leaders from all major nations debated the risk. Some believed it was dangerous to respond. What if this was a trick? What if they were walking into an alien war? Others argued that humanity had a duty to help. If Earth were in trouble, wouldn't they want someone to answer? Amid the chaos, one thing became clear: humanity was not alone. The hidden fear. While governments argued, scientists worked day and night to trace the signal's source. They soon discovered it came from a distant star system, over 50 light-years away. But something else was strange. Before reaching Earth, the signal had bounced off several planets, almost as if it was avoiding something. Dr. Carter and his team analyzed the waveforms, looking for hidden data. After days of work, they found something chilling. Embedded in the signal were images, glimpses of a burning world, cities crumbling under massive explosions, and strange, monstrous shapes moving through the smoke. The message wasn't just a call for help. It was a warning. The decision. The UEC faced a choice. They could ignore the signal and stay safe, or they could answer the call and risk everything. Commander Ethan Cole, a decorated officer from the United Earth Fleet, stood before the council. "If we ignore this," he said, "we might be dooming an entire species. And if something out there is powerful enough to destroy them, do we really think Earth is safe?" His words struck fear into everyone. What if whatever attacked them came for Earth next? After hours of debate, the council voted. The decision was made. Humanity would answer the call. The UES Valkyrie, Earth's most advanced starship, was prepared for the mission. A crew of the best scientists, engineers, and soldiers would embark on a journey into the unknown. As they prepared for departure, another message arrived. It was the same voice, but this time it was weaker, more urgent. "Hurry, they are coming." The decision to respond. The signal had shaken the world, but it was the second message that truly sent waves of fear across Earth. "Hurry, they are coming." It wasn't just a cry for help anymore. It was a race against time. A divided Earth. The United Earth Council, UEC, gathered in Geneva, deep inside an underground bunker designed to withstand any crisis. The room was filled with representatives from every major nation: scientists, military leaders, politicians, and diplomats. The world watched their every move, waiting for a decision that could change the future of humanity. On one side, there were those who believed this was a trap. General Marcus Harlow, head of Earth's Defense Command, slammed his fist on the table. "We don't know who sent this message. For all we know, it's a setup. We respond, and we walk right into an alien ambush. We can't risk Earth's safety for a species we know nothing about." Others in the room nodded. The fear of the unknown was strong. Humanity had only just begun to explore the stars. They were not ready for an intergalactic war. But on the other side of the table sat people like Dr. Elias Carter, the man who first received the signal. His voice was calm but firm. If this was a trap, why would they beg for help? Why show us images of their destruction? These beings are desperate, and if something powerful enough to destroy them is out there, do we really think Earth will be safe if we ignore this? The room fell silent. Then, Commander Ethan Cole stood up. He was a veteran of Earth's space fleet, a man known for his courage and sharp mind. His presence demanded attention. "I've seen what fear does to people," he said, his voice steady. "It makes us hide. It makes us wait for danger to come to our doorstep. But humanity didn't get this far by hiding. If someone out there needs our help, we owe it to ourselves to answer. Because if we don't, we might be next." The tipping point. While the council argued, the world outside was already changing. Strange phenomena began to occur. Satellites started malfunctioning without explanation. Massive blackouts swept across major cities. People reported seeing strange lights in the sky, unidentified objects moving faster than any human technology. At first, governments dismissed these as coincidences, but soon it became clear Earth was no longer just a bystander. Something, or someone, was already watching. Then came the breaking point. In Tokyo, a deep space observatory captured terrifying images from a nearby star system. A fleet of unknown ships, dark and jagged, moved in perfect formation, heading towards the outer edges of human-colonized space. It was no longer a question of if Earth was in danger. It was a question of when. The mission, UES Valkyrie. Faced with undeniable evidence, the UEC made its decision. Humanity would not sit back and wait. They would respond. The UES Valkyrie, Earth's most advanced starship, was chosen for the mission. Equipped with state-of-the-art weapons, faster than light, FTL, drives, and cutting-edge technology, it was humanity's best hope. But it wasn't just a military mission. The crew would include scientists, engineers, and diplomats, the brightest minds Earth had to offer. Their mission was twofold. Find the source of the distress signal. Discover who, or what, is coming. At the heart of the mission was Commander Ethan Cole. He had led countless missions, but this one felt different. This wasn't just about exploration or defense. This was about the future of humanity. As the Valkyrie prepared for launch, Cole addressed his crew. "I won't lie to you," he said. "We're heading into the unknown. We don't know what's out there, and we might not come back. But humanity is counting on us, and if there's a chance we can make a difference, we have to take it." The crew nodded. Fear was in their eyes, but so was determination. A world on edge. As the Valkyrie launched, the world watched in silence. Families gathered around screens, holding their breath. Children clutched their parents' hands, while soldiers prepared for the worst back on Earth. For the first time in history, humanity was united, not by war, but by the fear of the unknown. The Valkyrie disappeared into the stars, leaving behind a planet filled with hope and dread. But just hours after the ship vanished into deep space, Earth received one final chilling message. It wasn't from the aliens asking for help. It was from something else. You were warned. Now, it's too late. The message wasn't a cry for help. It was a threat. And humanity had just stepped into a galactic nightmare, into the unknown. The UES Valkyrie hurtled through the vast emptiness of space, leaving behind the familiar glow of Earth. The hum of the FTL drive vibrated through the ship's metal frame, a steady reminder that they were traveling faster than any human had ever gone before. But even with all their advanced technology, no one on board could shake the feeling of unease. They weren't just heading into deep space, they were heading into a mystery that could end humanity itself. The crew and their mission. The crew of the Valkyrie represented the best of humanity. Commander Ethan Cole led the mission. His calm, strategic mind had saved countless lives before, but nothing could have prepared him for this. Dr. Elias Carter, the scientist who discovered the alien signal, was on board to analyze any new communications. His curiosity was mixed with fear. He had seen the images hidden in that signal. Cities burning, monstrous shapes moving in the smoke. Lieutenant Maya Alvarez, the ship's chief engineer, kept the Valkyrie running. She trusted machines more than people, but knew this mission was about more than just tech. Sergeant Jonah Reed, a hardened soldier, led the security team. He didn't trust aliens or signals. His job was simple: protect the crew at all costs. As they traveled toward the source of the distress signal, each crew member wrestled with their own fears. What if they were walking into a trap? What if the aliens weren't asking for help but luring humanity into a war they couldn't win? First signs of trouble. 3 days into their journey, the Valkyrie passed through an uncharted nebula. The bright colors danced outside the ship's windows, but inside, the crew faced their first real test. The ship's sensors picked up strange energy readings, spikes of power that didn't match any known cosmic phenomenon. Then, without warning, the ship's lights flickered. The engine stuttered. "What the hell is going on?" Lieutenant Alvarez shouted from the engineering bay. Dr. Carter analyzed the readings. His face turned pale. "These aren't random energy spikes. Something is watching us." Before they could react, a shadow passed outside the ship. Massive, silent, and gone in an instant. Sergeant Reed sounded the alarm. "Battle stations. We're not alone out here." But no attack came. Whatever had passed by them had moved on. Or maybe it was waiting. The graveyard of worlds. As the Valkyrie approached the coordinates of the distress signal, the crew encountered their next horrifying discovery. Floating in the void were the remains of ships, hundreds of them. Some were clearly alien, with designs humanity had never seen before. Others looked disturbingly familiar, like the early exploration vessels Earth had sent decades ago. "Those ships, they're from Earth's first expeditions," whispered Dr. Carter. "But they were lost years ago. How did they end up here?" Commander Cole clenched his jaw. "We're not the first to come this far, but we might be the last." The crew called it the graveyard of worlds. The twisted metal of destroyed ships floated silently, a warning to anyone who dared enter this part of space. But the Valkyrie pressed on. The distress signal. A closer look. Finally, after a week in deep space, the Valkyrie reached the source of the distress signal. It came from a planet orbiting a dying star. But what they saw froze their blood. The planet was in ruins. Once a thriving world, now it was nothing more than ashes and rubble. Cities lay crumbled, and the ground was scorched black. From orbit, the crew could see massive claw marks etched into the surface of the planet, as if some colossal beast had ripped the world apart. But the signal was still active. Someone, or something, was still down there. "Prepare the landing team," Commander Cole ordered. "We're going down." The descent into darkness. The landing craft touched down on the planet's surface. The crew stepped out into a landscape of death and silence. The sky was dark, and the air smelled of burnt metal and dust. They moved through the ruins, weapons drawn, eyes scanning for any sign of life. But there was nothing. Only the echo of their footsteps and the distant wind blowing through the skeletal remains of buildings. Then they found it. A survivor. It was a member of the alien race that had sent the distress signal. The creature was humanoid but taller, with glowing blue skin and hollow eyes filled with terror. It was weak, barely alive, but when it saw the humans, it reached out with trembling hands. In a raspy voice, it whispered, "You shouldn't have come. They're already here." Before the crew could respond, the ground beneath them shook. A low, guttural roar echoed through the ruins. Sergeant Reed's eyes widened. "We need to get out of here. Now." But it was too late. From the shadows, they saw them. Monstrous creatures unlike anything humanity had ever faced. Tall, armored, with glowing red eyes and claws that could tear through metal. The Dracul. They weren't just a threat to this planet. They were the galactic nightmare that humanity had been warned about. And now, they knew Earth was next. First contact. The Valkyrie's crew barely escaped the planet's surface, their hearts pounding as the Dracul emerged from the shadows. They had seen the monsters with their own eyes. Towering, clawed creatures with glowing red eyes that radiated pure hatred. The distress signal had not been a trap, but a warning of an unstoppable force sweeping through the galaxy. But the most haunting realization was this. Earth was next. The escape. The shuttle rocketed back to the Valkyrie, but the Dracul were fast, too fast. Their ships weren't like anything the crew had ever seen. Jagged black vessels, moving with a terrifying, unnatural speed, as if space itself bent around them. Inside the shuttle, Commander Cole gripped the controls tighter. Sergeant Jonah Reed and his security team were firing back with advanced plasma rifles, but their weapons were little more than a distraction against the Dracul's relentless pursuit. Brace for impact, Cole shouted as the Valkyrie's docking bay came into view. The shuttle barely made it inside before the Dracul ships opened fire, sending shockwaves through the Valkyrie's hull. Lieutenant Maya Alvarez struggled in engineering to keep the ship's shields from collapsing. The power flickered, alarms blared, but somehow they held together. FTL jump now, Cole ordered. The Valkyrie's engines roared to life, tearing through space as they escaped the planet's orbit. In a blink, the stars stretched and vanished, leaving the crew in the eerie, quiet void of faster-than-light travel. But there was no relief. The crew knew they had seen something humanity was not prepared to face. The Zephyrians. Hours after the escape, the Valkyrie's systems detected another signal, this one different from the Dracul. It was weaker, more refined, and didn't carry the same cold, mechanical tone of the Dracul's presence. It wasn't a threat. It was a call for peace. Commander, Dr. Elias Carter said, his eyes wide as he analyzed the incoming message. It's them. The ones who sent the original distress signal. The crew followed the transmission to a nearby asteroid field. Nestled within it was a hidden outpost, cloaked from sensors, barely holding together. The Valkyrie approached cautiously, but the signal was clear. Whoever was inside wasn't a threat. They were hiding. The outpost's docking bay opened, and for the first time in human history, humanity made first contact with another intelligent species. They were called the Zephyrians, an ancient race of peaceful beings with slender, elongated forms and glowing blue skin. Their eyes, deep and shimmering like pools of light, reflected a sorrow that words couldn't capture. Commander Cole and his team entered the outpost, weapons lowered but ready. The Zephyrian leader, Elivorn, stepped forward, his voice resonating softly through a translator. You should not have come. They will follow you now. Cole frowned. The Dracul. Elivorn nodded slowly. They are not conquerors. They are extinction. We sent our message across the stars, hoping someone, anyone, could help us. But now that you've seen them, your world is in danger too. The truth about the Dracul. In the dim light of the Zephyrian outpost, the Valkyrie's crew learned the horrifying truth. The Dracul were not just another alien species. They were a force of galactic annihilation, moving from star system to star system, consuming everything in their path. No civilization had survived their onslaught. The Zephyrians had once ruled vast regions of space, but now they were reduced to refugees, hiding in the shadows of dying worlds. Why? Dr. Carter asked. Why do they do this? What do they want? Elivorn's glowing eyes darkened. They don't want anything. They exist to destroy. They are the remains of an ancient experiment, an attempt to create the perfect biological machine. But something went wrong. They became unstoppable. Now, they devour life itself. The Zephyrians had one hope left, a prototype weapon designed to disrupt the Dracul's biological systems, but it was incomplete, and only with human technology could it be finished. Commander Cole stood silently, processing the weight of their situation. They hadn't just stumbled upon a dying world. They had walked into a galactic funeral. And Earth was next in line. A choice to make. Back aboard the Valkyrie, the crew debated their next move. We need to go back to Earth. We have to warn them. Sergeant Reed insisted. We can't fight this thing out here. But Dr. Carter shook his head. If we leave now, the Dracul will find Earth before we can prepare. The only chance we have is to finish that weapon. Lieutenant Alvarez slammed her hand on the console. And if we fail, then Earth won't stand a chance. The room fell silent, all eyes on Commander Cole. The decision rested with him. After a long pause, he spoke. We stay. We finish the weapon. Earth is counting on us. The crew nodded, understanding the gravity of their mission. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about fighting back. The calm before the storm. For the next few days, the Valkyrie worked alongside the Zephyrians, combining human technology with alien science to complete the prototype weapon. Hope flickered in the crew's hearts, but it was fragile, like a candle in the wind. As they worked, the Valkyrie's sensors picked up disturbances in nearby space. The Dracul weren't far behind. The clock was ticking. And then, just as the weapon neared completion, the worst happened. The Dracul found them. The enemy revealed. The calm of space shattered as the Dracul descended upon the Cypherian outpost. What had once been an eerie silence, filled with cautious hope, now echoed with the hum of alarms and the deep, thunderous vibration of Dracul warships tearing through space like dark, predatory shadows. The Valkyrie's sensors screamed with warnings, but the crew didn't need data to know the truth. The enemy had arrived. And they were unlike anything humanity had ever faced. The first strike. All hands, battle stations. Commander Cole's voice rang through the Valkyrie's corridors, steady and sharp. His calmness under pressure was legendary, but even he felt the weight of this moment. The prototype weapon was almost ready, but they were out of time. From the bridge's viewport, the crew saw them. Dracul ships, jagged like shards of broken glass, moving with unnatural precision. They weren't just flying through space. They were cutting through it, bending the very fabric of the void around them. Their ships emitted a low, guttural hum that resonated in the bones of every crew member. They're charging weapons, Lieutenant Alvarez reported from her station, her fingers flying across the controls to strengthen the Valkyrie's shields. The first blast hit. The Valkyrie shuddered violently, the lights flickering as energy rippled through the ship's hull. The shields held, barely, but the impact left no doubt. The Dracul's weapons were far beyond anything humanity had developed. Return fire, Cole ordered. The Valkyrie's cannons roared to life, launching plasma bolts toward the approaching enemy. The Zephyrians' outpost joined the fight, their ancient energy weapons firing in bursts of brilliant blue light. But it was futile. The Dracul ships moved like predators, effortlessly dodging the incoming fire. When a plasma bolt did hit, it barely scratched their black, organic hulls. The Valkyrie was fighting a losing battle, and everyone on board knew it. A desperate plan. "Commander, we can't hold them off for long." Sergeant Jonah Reed shouted over the chaos, gripping his weapon as if sheer willpower could keep the ship together. "We need to retreat." Cole clenched his jaw. He wasn't the kind of man who liked running from a fight, but he knew Reed was right. They couldn't win this battle, not without the weapon. "Dr. Carter, how much longer?" Cole barked into the comms. In the lower decks, Dr. Elias Carter and the Zephyrian scientists worked frantically on the prototype. Sweat dripped from Carter's brow as he adjusted the alien components with trembling hands. 5 minutes, Carter replied, his voice tight with tension. "But we need more power. The Zephyrian core isn't stable enough to handle the energy output." Cole's mind raced. They had to buy time, no matter the cost. "Lieutenant Alvarez, reroute auxiliary power to the prototype," he ordered. Sergeant Reed, prep the Marines. We're going to give them a distraction. Reed's eyes widened. You're sending us out there? Cole nodded. We don't have a choice. The boarding party. While the Valkyrie's cannons fired uselessly at the Drakkal fleet, Sergeant Reed and his team suited up. Their mission wasn't to win. It was to distract. They would board one of the Drakkal ships, cause as much chaos as possible, and give Carter the time he needed to finish the weapon. As the Valkyrie dodged another wave of enemy fire, Reed's team launched in small, agile shuttles. The Drakkal ships didn't seem to notice them at first. Humans were insignificant after all. But as the shuttles closed in, the Drakkal responded. The first shuttle was torn apart mid-flight, its debris scattering like confetti across the stars. But Reed's team pressed on, weaving through enemy fire until they reached one of the monstrous ships. They docked with a sickening thud. Reed and his Marines forced the hatch open and stepped into the belly of the beast. The inside of the Drakkal ship was even more horrifying than the outside. The walls were made of a fleshy, pulsating material, as if the ship itself were alive. The air was thick with a metallic, coppery smell, like blood. "Stay sharp," Reed whispered, his voice steady despite the terror clawing at his chest. They didn't have to wait long. The Drakkal were waiting. The face of the enemy. The first Drakkal emerged from the shadows, its massive form towering over the Marines. It was like something out of a nightmare. Black, armored flesh, claws as long as swords, and eyes that glowed with a malevolent red light. Reed opened fire, his plasma rifle glowing hot, as he unloaded round after round into the creature. But the bullets barely slowed it down. The Drakkal moved with terrifying speed, ripping through the first Marine like he was made of paper. "Fall back," Reed shouted, but there was nowhere to run. The Drakkal were everywhere. Back on the Valkyrie, Commander Cole watched the vital signs of Reed's team blink out one by one. His fists clenched as he realized the horrible truth. They weren't going to make it, but their sacrifice had bought enough time. "The prototype is ready." "Commander," Dr. Carter's voice crackled through the comms. "The weapon is ready, but we only have one shot." Cole didn't hesitate. "Do it." The Valkyrie's energy core surged, channeling power into the Zypherian prototype. The ship trembled as the weapon charged, glowing with a blinding light. As the Drakkal ships closed in for the kill, the Valkyrie fired. A pulse of energy rippled through space, invisible to the naked eye but devastating in its power. The Drakkal ships froze mid-flight, their movements jerking and spasming, as if something deep within them had been shattered. For the first time, the Valkyrie's crew saw the Drakkal falter. But it wasn't over. The prototype had weakened them, but it hadn't destroyed them. The Drakkal were stunned, but they were not defeated. "Retreat and regroup." "Commander, they're recovering," Alvarez shouted. "We have to go. Now." Cole gave the order. The Valkyrie's engines roared to life, and the ship jumped into FTL, leaving the battlefield, and the wounded Drakkal behind. In the aftermath, the crew sat in silence, processing what they had just witnessed. They had faced the enemy, stared into the abyss, and lived to tell the tale. But they all knew the truth. The Drakkal were coming, and Earth was not ready. The final stand. The UES Valkyrie emerged from faster-than-light travel, limping through the darkness of space. The ship's once pristine hull was scarred with burns and dents, a brutal reminder of the Drakkal's ferocity. Inside, the crew moved like shadows, their faces pale and eyes heavy with the weight of what they had seen. They had stared into the heart of extinction and lived to tell the tale. But survival came at a price. Earth was next, and the clock was ticking. The return to Earth. When the Valkyrie crossed into Earth's orbit, the planet below looked peaceful. The familiar blues and greens of oceans and forests spun gently beneath swirling white clouds. But the crew knew better. That calm was an illusion. The Drakkal were coming, and Earth's defenses were nowhere near ready. The moment the Valkyrie docked at Lunar Command Station, Commander Ethan Cole was rushed into a briefing with the United Earth Council. The leaders, once skeptical and cautious, now sat in stunned silence as Cole recounted the horrors he and his crew had witnessed. He described the Drakkal, their monstrous forms, their indestructible ships, and their unstoppable hunger. He spoke of the graveyard of worlds and the countless civilizations that had been wiped out before humanity even knew they existed. But it was the final part of his report that chilled the room to its core. "We hit them with the prototype," Cole said. "It slowed them down, but it didn't stop them. And now they know who we are. They know where we live. They're coming." A heavy silence settled over the council chamber. Then General Marcus Harlow, head of Earth's Defense Command, stood. "Then we'd make our stand," he said, his voice hard as steel. "We've faced extinction before. We won't go down without a fight." Global unity. For the first time in history, Earth was united under one banner. The old divisions, nations, politics, borders, meant nothing in the face of a threat that would wipe out all of humanity. Factories around the globe shifted into overdrive, producing weapons, ships, and defensive systems. The Valkyrie's data on the Drakkal was shared with every major government, and scientists raced to refine the Zephyrian prototype weapon, hoping to find a way to turn it into a planet-wide defense system. But time was running out. Satellite scanners picked up Drakkal movement on the edge of the solar system. Their ships, like a swarm of locusts, moved with terrifying speed, consuming everything in their path. They would reach Earth in less than a week. Preparing for war. In the final days before the Drakkal's arrival, Earth became a planet-sized fortress. Orbital defense platforms were armed with plasma cannons and railguns. The lunar defense grid was activated, ready to fire upon any approaching threat. On the ground, cities were evacuated, and civilians were moved into underground bunkers while soldiers prepared for the fight of their lives. But no matter how much they prepared, everyone knew the truth. They were outmatched. The Drakkal weren't just another alien species. They were a force of nature, an unstoppable wave of destruction that had already crushed civilizations far more advanced than Earth. Still, humanity refused to give up. As Commander Cole stood aboard the Valkyrie, now repaired and armed with the latest Earth and Zephyrian technology, he addressed the worldwide fleet. "This is not just a battle for Earth," he said, his voice broadcast to every ship, every soldier, and every person on the planet. "This is a battle for our right to exist. The Drakkal think we're weak. They think we'll roll over like the others, but they've never faced humanity before. We don't give up. We don't surrender. And today, we show them who we are." The Drakkal arrive. When the Drakkal fleet entered Earth's orbit, it was like watching a storm consume the sky. Their ships, dark and massive, blotted out the stars, casting the planet into an unnatural twilight. The hum of their engines reverberated through the air, a sound that chilled the blood. Then the first strike came. A Drakkal warship unleashed a beam of energy that tore through an orbital defense platform, vaporizing it in seconds. The shockwave rippled across space, sending debris spiraling toward Earth's atmosphere. But humanity was ready. The lunar defense grid fired back, its cannons blazing with bright, searing light. Earth's fleet, led by the Valkyrie, launched into the heart of the Drakkal swarm, their weapons cutting through the void. The battle for Earth had begun. The final stand. The sky above Earth became a battleground unlike anything humanity had ever witnessed. Ships darted between Drakkal war cruisers, dodging beams of destructive energy, while firing everything they had. On the ground, soldiers fought against Drakkal landing forces, monstrous creatures that tore through tanks and buildings like paper. The prototype weapon had been integrated into Earth's defense system, but it wasn't enough. The Drakkal were relentless. For every ship humanity destroyed, 10 more took its place. In the middle of the chaos, Commander Cole knew they needed to do something drastic. The ultimate sacrifice. Dr. Carter had discovered something critical in the Drakkal's biology. The creatures were connected through a hive mind, controlled by a central ship, a massive floating fortress at the heart of their fleet. Destroy the hive ship, and the Drakkar would fall apart. But there was a problem. The prototype weapon wasn't strong enough to destroy the hive ship from a distance. They would have to get inside the ship and set off the weapon manually. It was a suicide mission. "I'll do it," Cole volunteered without hesitation. "Commander, no." Alvarez started, but Cole shook his head. "This is the only way," he said. "If I don't make it back, tell Earth we didn't go down without a fight." The Valkyrie, flanked by the remaining ships of Earth's fleet, blasted its way through the Drakkar defenses. Cole and a small team boarded the hive ship, fighting their way through its twisted organic corridors while the battle raged outside. Finally, they reached the core. Cole activated the weapon, knowing what it meant. As the countdown ticked down, he sent one final message to Earth. For humanity, victory and loss. The prototype weapon detonated with a blinding pulse of energy, tearing through the hive ship and sending a shockwave across the Drakkar fleet. Without their hive mind, the Drakkar ships faltered, their coordination collapsing. One by one, Earth's forces destroyed them, turning the tide of battle. When the dust settled, humanity had won. But the cost was great. Millions had died, cities were in ruins, and Commander Ethan Cole, the man who had led them through the darkness, was gone. A new beginning. In the aftermath, Earth began to rebuild. The Zephyrians, now free from the Drakkar threat, formed an alliance with humanity. Together, they would ensure that no force in the galaxy could threaten life again. Commander Cole's sacrifice became a symbol of humanity's resilience. Statues were erected in his honor, and his name became legend. The Drakkar had underestimated humanity. They thought Earth would be just another world to conquer. But they were wrong. Because when faced with extinction, humanity didn't run. They fought. And they won. Humanity's triumph. The Drakkar hive ship had been destroyed, its monstrous remains drifting through the void like the shattered bones of a defeated titan. The battle was over. The invincible enemy, the scourge of countless civilizations, had finally been stopped by humanity. But victory came at a price. As the dust of war settled and the skies above Earth cleared, the world looked upon its scared surface. Cities lay in ruins, millions had perished, and entire regions were now unrecognizable landscapes of destruction. Yet, amidst the wreckage, a single, undeniable truth resonated across the planet. Humanity had survived. The aftermath of war. In the hours following the Drakkar's defeat, Earth's remaining fleets returned from the stars, their hulls scorched, engines sputtering, but their flags still flying. The UEA's Valkyrie, now battered and missing large sections of its structure, drifted into Earth's orbit like a returning hero. But its most vital crew member, Commander Ethan Cole, would not be stepping off the ship. In cities across the world, people emerged from underground bunkers, their eyes adjusting to the light after days in darkness. Families reunited, soldiers embraced, and for the first time in weeks, there was laughter. The kind born not of joy, but of relief. The world had been brought to the brink. And yet, it still spun. But no one could forget the sacrifices that had been made. Honoring the fallen. A global memorial was planned to honor those who had given their lives in the fight against the Drakkar. At the center of the ceremony was a tribute to Commander Cole, the man whose bravery had turned the tide of the war. In Geneva, the heart of the United Earth Council, a towering statue of Cole was unveiled. He stood tall, his gaze fixed on the stars, a symbol of humanity's refusal to be extinguished. The inscription at the base read, "For humanity, for the future, for those who never gave up." As the statue was revealed, Dr. Elias Carter, Lieutenant Maya Alvarez, and Sergeant Jonah Reed stood at the forefront of the crowd, their hearts heavy with grief but full of pride. Carter, who had once doubted humanity's ability to face such a threat, now saw the unbreakable spirit that had always been there. Alvarez, whose hands had kept the Valkyrie running through impossible odds, knew they had done more than just survive. They had proven themselves. And Reed, who had fought beside his brothers and sisters until the very end, felt the bittersweet weight of victory. A new era. With the Drakkar defeated, Earth faced a new challenge: rebuilding. But this wasn't just about repairing cities and infrastructure. The war had changed humanity. They had gone from a fractured collection of nations to a united species, bound together by a shared struggle against a common enemy. The Zephyrians, the alien race that had first called for help, became Earth's closest allies. Their advanced technology, combined with humanity's resilience and ingenuity, sparked a technological renaissance. Together, they began to repair not just Earth, but the other worlds ravaged by the Drakkar. New alliances formed across the galaxy. Other civilizations, once isolated and fearful, saw what humanity had accomplished and reached out in solidarity. Earth had gone from being a young, inexperienced world to a beacon of hope. But humanity wasn't content with just surviving. They had seen what lay in the darkness of space, and they knew they had to be ready for whatever came next. The Guardians of the Stars. In the years following the war, Earth and the Zephyrians founded the Galactic Defense Coalition, a united force dedicated to protecting the galaxy from future threats. The first fleet of this coalition was named in honor of the ship that had led humanity's defense, the Valkyrie fleet. At the head of this fleet was Lieutenant Maya Alvarez, now promoted to fleet commander. Her mission wasn't just to defend Earth, but to ensure that no other world would face the same fate that the Drakkar had threatened. Dr. Elias Carter became the head of a new scientific initiative dedicated to studying the remnants of the Drakkar and understanding the deeper mysteries of the universe. He believed that knowledge was humanity's greatest weapon, and he was determined to ensure they would never be caught off guard again. Sergeant Jonah Reed, though scared from the battles he had fought, took on the role of training the next generation of soldiers. His experience on the front lines had made him a legend, and his teachings ensured that Earth's defenders would always be prepared. Together, they led humanity into a new age, not of fear, but of exploration and strength. The legacy of Commander Cole. Though Commander Ethan Cole was gone, his legacy lived on in every corner of the galaxy. His story was told in schools, his face appeared on currency, and his words echoed in the hearts of those who fought for freedom. But for those who knew him best, it wasn't just his bravery that they remembered. It was his humanity, his unwavering belief in the goodness of people, his refusal to give up even when the odds were impossible, and his understanding that what made humanity strong wasn't just their technology or their weapons. It was their hope. A message to the stars. Years after the war, as Earth celebrated its reconstruction and the coalition grew stronger, a signal was sent out into the cosmos. It was a message to any civilization that might be listening, friend or foe. It simply said, "We are humanity. We stand together, and we will never fall." The message echoed through the stars, a beacon of defiance and unity. Because humanity had faced extinction, they had stared into the abyss, and they had come back stronger. The final scene. In the quiet darkness of space, far beyond Earth's orbit, a lone ship drifted among the stars. Inside, a small flickering beacon pulsed softly, a distress signal. But this time, it wasn't Earth sending the call. It was a new voice, a new cry for help. And as the Valkyrie fleet responded, humanity knew one thing for certain. The stars were vast. The dangers were many. But humanity was ready.